Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lorie, and today we're going to be reacting to Genshin Impact's version 4.7 special program. We've already seen Dane here, which is very exciting. We haven't seen him in a while. So without further ado, I don't really have anything that I'm expecting. I would love to see Notlon. I would love to see some of those crumbs, because we're getting to that point in Genshin where we should start getting slowly into the next region, like with the story and whatnot. So hopefully we'll see some Notlon today. We'll see what happens. All right, without further ado, let's go. Let's go. I'm excited. It's been a while since we've done anything super Genshin
he comes
related.
And goes without leaving a trace.
I need to
only
turn this
appearing
off.
at the most critical moments. He's highly knowledgeable, and he likes to share his observations with others. She has a cold and stern exterior.
Clorinde!
Her spotless battle record has earned her renown throughout Fontaine. She is an unusual-looking Melusine.
Oh my god, look
with
at
an equally unique
Sigewinne.
perspective on the world. And now,
Pickle, it's your baby.
their voice actors have all gathered here today to deliver the version 4.7 special program.
Ayo!
We're actually all here.
Finally!
Hello, travelers. My name is Zach Aguilar, and I voice the male traveler. Today, our hosts for the special program include...
Hello everybody, I'm Yuri Lowenthal, the voice of Dainsleif. You may know me from all those new character intro videos and occasionally dropping lore on y'all.
Have they announced his voice actor before?
At the Fortress of Meripede, Sigewinne. She's there keeping everybody all healthy and nice and making sure everybody feels good.
And hey everyone, I'm Crystal Lee, the voice of Fontaine's champion
Oh.
duelist, Clorinde. Pew pew pew, let's get it.
All right,
Pew, pew,
nice.
pew.
So we've got a traveler, a man of mystery, a duelist, and a healer. I think it's the perfect adventuring party.
It's the perfect D&D party.
What a wild coincidence, you guys. I just received an invitational letter to a new domain.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not a
imagine
good
that.
Yuri gotta be everywhere. Right.
That's just destiny.
He
Yeah,
really is.
Definitely. You know, this new domain seems to be right behind us, but in order to complete the challenge, we'll need to tackle several missions first.
Well, then what are we waiting for? Let's do this!
Let's do this.
Traveler? Paimon, would you join us and play Marechaussee Hunter Judgment Day?
This script was adapted from the real history of the Marechaussee Hunters. You all will play the role of hunters from a bygone era and resolve a series of events unfolding in the capital.
Many of my habits are customs I've adopted from the Marechaussee Hunter tradition. They fight against monsters, while I fight against lawbreakers. For when I draw my blade, I am but an instrument of Fontaine's
Oh my god.
law.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Y'all, I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm so serious right now. I am getting her. I am getting her. There is no way I'm not getting her. I am getting her.
Time to testify.
What the fuck was
Madam
that?
Mage says that every page of a storybook is a segment of the present.
So vast.
Was that her
mysterious.
birth?
There must be quite a story behind this place.
Oh, he's so cute.
I'll explore this place with you to the end. Let's never stop hoping for victory. Way ahead of you!
I really love his hair.
Move or be moved!
Not that I doubt your fighting ability, of course. It's just so much more dangerous in there than I ever imagined.
That's
Well, if it
terrifying.
hurts, just let me know.
Oh my god. She's giving out horse pills. Oh my goodness. Oh my.
Just relax.
A strange disease, one I suspect that every Fontainian suffers from.
But they don't trust me at all. Do you really think it matters whether I'm Melusine or a human?
I don't believe Master would suddenly disappear for no reason. There must have been something she just had to do.
In the New World, they bade farewell to the shrouded sun. At last, they no longer needed to dwell on their suffering, or try to differentiate between various thoughts of blasphemy. Such was the price they paid, and thus their souls became cleansed and pure.
The way he's holding his sword, he must be a real Marechaussee Hunter.
You used it yourself, didn't you? That's why you have a human appearance.
That's quite the gamble. But I believe that I am the one walking into a trap.
One day, I shall have my vengeance.
That way, Captain Dainsleif could accomplish his own goal. The Loom of Fate has already been completed.
The hell?
Traveler, let me ask you this. Do you believe your sibling to have betrayed you?
Oh, stop! This is the art? This is what? Oh my god, are we gonna what? Oh my god, no way! Okay. Yeah, this better not be a dream this time. Absolutely. I feel like this update's gonna make me cry. The plots. I'm catching up on chats. Oh my gosh. That was Clorinde's burst. Shut up. That was so cool. What if the moon was a zone? Are we having our Endwalker era in Genshin? Are we doing some Final Fantasy IV? There's a lot of quests in this update. I love it. I'm excited. I am excited. I'm so excited to see Dane again and for him to give us nothing. He might give us something this time around. It seems like there's some, like, I don't know. There's some stuff with him this time around. I feel like he's gonna be there for longer, and he's gonna deliver. He's gonna deliver some good stuff. Moon bunnies, let's go. Pops up, says something ominous, doesn't elaborate, leaves for 1 year. Oh my god. More nothing from Dane. Yippee. It feels bigger because of the fact that they mentioned the Loom of Fate. Yes. Yes.
Oh, it looks like our first mission is here.
Fancy that.
Assemble your team. Oh, I get it. Our first mission is to introduce the
Chibi
new
Dane
characters.
is like
All right,
ridiculously
this is getting exciting.
There it is.
All right then. Well, how about we start off by introducing Fontaine's strongest champion duelist, Clorinde.
You would say that.
So true. It's true.
In my
Do we say
role
it at the
as
same
champion
time?
Duelist, my opinions do not matter. For when I draw my blade, I am but
Oh
an
my
instrument
God.
of Fontaine's law.
Oh my god.
Ready.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. She's so cool.
Where evil lurks, shoot on sight.
What is this burst?
Whoa. Those animations.
Did you see that
So
ultimate?
good. That ultimate is so cool.
Mm-hmm. Clorinde's strength actually has a really interesting origin. She inherited it from the Marechaussee Hunters.
What is this burst?
The hunters from the artifact
Like that
set.
burst is like
The Marechaussee
next
Hunters were an
level. I feel like they're.
organization that
Is it just
defeated
me or are they
monsters
like
and
stepping it
upheld
up with
justice from
their
the shadows.
burst animations?
I think the group's name has also been mentioned in some of Fontaine's historical records.
Exactly. The Marechaussee Hunters have a long history. To modern-day Fontainians, they're nothing more than an old legend from novels and plays, but for Clorinde, the Marechaussee Hunters' legacy is really real. If travelers want to learn more about the Marechaussee Hunters, then be sure to check out Clorinde's story quest in the new version.
We will be checking it out.
Marechaussee Hunters.
We will be
Perfect,
checking
then
it
let's
out.
get into her combat abilities. Clorinde is categorized as an electro sword user, but she actually uses both a sword and a pistolet to attack her enemies during
No,
combat.
but seriously, what is with
Now,
electro
her
women?
normal attack deals
Like, what is
physical
with them?
damage by performing up to 5 consecutive strikes. During her charged attack, Clorinde uses her pistolet to target enemies in a V shape in front of her. Also, Clorinde has developed a special ritual over the years. She always polishes her weapon before each duel.
That is so dignified of her.
I know,
She's
right?
so
Kind of
she's so
adorable.
cool.
Even the champion duelist of Fontaine has a cute side, huh?
Aw.
Sarah is starting to sound just like Sigewinne.
Oh, what?
Though it's probably a meaningful ritual for Clorinde, right?
That's exactly right. It's a habit that helps Clorinde focus on the opponent in front of her. In fact, Clorinde's elemental skill, Hunter's Vigil, is an ability that demonstrates how potent she can be when she's focused. Check this out. During combat, unleashing Clorinde's elemental skill will cause her to enter the Night Vigil state. During this state, Clorinde can unleash 2 different types of special attacks. Her normal attacks will be converted into Swift Hunt Pistolet attacks, and her elemental skill will be converted into a lunging attack, Impale the Knight.
Huh.
Wow.
It looks like Clorinde gains a bond of life during her elemental skill. Does the skill have any additional effects?
Oh, good perception on those eyes. Those Swift Hunt Pistolet attacks increase Clorinde's bond of life, and her lunging attack,
Electra
Impale
really
the
is
Knight,
the sapphic
will clear the
element.
bond of
I am
life.
obsessed.
So she accumulates the bond with one hand and then clears it with the other?
Oh, hey, that's a really good explanation. Yeah, Clorinde's special attacks have different effects depending on the value of her bond of life. So when her bond of life is like relatively low, her Swift Hunt Pistolet attacks have a piercing effect, and they deal greater damage. But when her bond of life is relatively high, her lunging attack, Impale the Knight, has a greater AoE and deals higher damage.
Oh my god.
Gotcha, I get it. So Clorinde is meant to use her pistolet to accumulate a bond of life and then use her sword to clear it once it reaches a certain amount. And that way, both attacks benefit each other.
Bingo! Though you should remember the effect of one of Clorinde's unique talents. So when she's in the Night Vigil state, any healing other than the one provided by her lunging attack, Impale the Knight, will be converted into a Bond of Life. This unique talent allows different healing effects to alter the
Bond of
pacing
Life is so
Clorine's
interesting to
gameplay.
me.
So travelers can experiment with a variety of different tactical combinations.
That's cool.
Also, although Clorinde is most renowned as a champion duelist, she has never forgotten her identity as a Marachose hunter. So, during her elemental burst, Last Lightfall, Clorinde draws on her Marachose hunter heritage to unleash an ancient skill that empowers mortals to fight deadly monsters. This ability allows her to swiftly evade enemy attacks and strike her opponents. Her
Like,
burst
every
deals
time I
AoE
see this
electro
burst,
damage
I'm
and
like,
grants
what
her
is
Bond
this
of Life
burst?
based on her max HP.
Wow, that's so cool. But if that power is designed
Like,
to
I
fight
feel like
monsters,
they're almost
is it
getting like
really
more
okay for her to
cinematic,
use it in a
which
regular
is so
duel?
cool.
Good point. I think Clorinde just has to adjust the amount of force that she puts behind those blows.
That makes sense.
My god.
Also, Clorinde can draw on the strength of her companions after unlocking her passive talent, Dark Shattering Flame. Man, that sounds cool. So, when a nearby party member triggers an electro-related reaction,
yeah, it really
the electro
feels
damage
like
dealt by her
they're,
normal attack and her elemental
I don't know,
burst
maybe
will
they're
increase
going
based
the
on her attack
route
value.
of
Though, no, there is a
Star
ceiling to the
Rail where they're
damage bonus
trying
that
to
you can
do
gain from
more
this
like
effect.
cinematic bursts, which
Clorinde
I'm so here
also
for.
has another passive talent called Lawful Remuneration. If her bond of life is greater than or equal to a certain percentage, then a change in her bond of life value will increase her crit rate. That's right. And while she's in the Night Vigil state, the percentage of healing converted into a bond of life will increase.
Wow.
Yeah.
The silhouettes
And finally,
look more
being a
like
champion
ruins.
duelist gives Clorinde a strong familiarity with all the regions of Fontaine. So, when she's in your party, Clorinde can reveal the locations of Fontaine regional resources.
Oh, I love that.
So awesome. I'm sure that travelers will be eager to use her to uncover treasure, defeat monsters, and of course, uphold justice.
Not necessarily in that order.
So, Clorinde is usually pretty stern and composed as a champion duelist, but I wonder how she unwinds. Like, does she have any hobbies?
Ooh.
I'm sure that she has some interest outside of work. I mean, she's always accepting cosmetic products from Sigewinne and making sure to return the favor because she's sweet.
Aw, and yeah, of course she does. Clorinde is an active member of the tabletop troupe during her off hours. So, in version 4.7, travelers won't just have the chance to learn more about the Marachose hunters during her story
She's
quest,
a tabletop
the
gamer?
Reparia chapter. They'll also get to join Clorinde on a very special tabletop troupe adventure. Woo! I love TTRPGs so much.
Ooh, I know, I'm so
Am
excited.
am I falling in love?
And with all of that, that is all the information that I have to share about
I
Clorinde.
think I'm falling in love.
Next up, let's introduce our adorable little Sigewinne.
Oh, yes. Okay, sorry. Too excited.
Yes,
Hold
yes.
on. We gotta look
That
at her
sounded
demo
so
first.
gremlin.
Yes.
You only get one body, so you gotta take care of it.
You only got one
It's
body.
just as important to take care of your mind. Hold still.
Oh my goodness, she is so freaking cute.
feel a little pressure.
Yeah, even like even Sigewinne's burst is like it's kind of like a little bit more cinematic to me.
She's so cute, it's unreal.
Wow.
I love her pills so
Cuteness
much.
overload.
I love her
Has
pills so
ears
much.
on it.
I would love to ride around on a bubble like that. She's with her little legs
Please,
dangling in
the
air.
horse pills.
Yeah, with the bubble gun and the giant syringe.
Guys, so cute.
Those bubbles are so big. Her kit looks really, really fun.
I know, but if that's the syringe she uses on her patients, I can see why they might be nervous about getting sick.
Oh, for sure.
Hey, sometimes you gotta take your medicine. And since she's the head nurse at the Fortress of Meripede, Sigewinne wants everyone to stay healthy. She believes that taking care of your body is the most important goal. But she often encounters people who overwork themselves in the production zone, so she always tries to sneak them healthy meals, but she doesn't think that's a substitute for some proper rest.
Oh, take a page out of her book. Yeah, seems like you'll need to be well fed and well rested if you want to keep up with Sigewinne.
For sure. She seems like
Yeah,
such a
if you don't
caring
take
and
care of your
attentive
body,
person.
she's gonna
But
shoot
then
you.
what's she like
So
when she fights?
Well, Sigewinne is a Hydro Bow user. Her normal attack unleashes up to 3
she's like,
consecutive attacks.
you're either gonna
During the
sleep
second and third attack,
or I'm gonna
Sigewinne
make you
takes out
sleep.
a pill and tosses it at her opponent.
I saw that in the demo. It's like she's literally telling her opponents to take their medicine.
That thing.
She can make aimed shots using her charged attack. Once the shot is held and fully charged, Sigewinne's bow will fire slow-moving ministration bubbles, dealing hydro damage to her target. Just make sure not to release her arrow. Oh, and also, Sigewinne uses a specially made bubble gun to fire a
oh my
giant
god, you know what it
bolstering
reminds me of a
bubble
little
bomb
bit?
during her
It
elemental
reminds
skill,
me, it's like
Rebound
very
Hydrotherapy.
magical girl
The
to me.
projectile bounces between nearby opponents, dealing hydro damage to anyone it touches and restoring
Like
HP
even
to
her,
all
like
nearby
her
party
little,
members,
her
except for
weapon
Sigewinne
and,
herself. Sigewinne will be healed a certain amount of health
or like
when
her
the
little
bolstering bubble bomb
shotgun
disappears,
or whatever.
which is based on her max HP.
Bolstering bubble bomb. Say that 3 times fast.
Please don't make me.
You know, travelers could have a bubble blowing contest. with their
yes,
Sigewinnes.
magic girl with a
Wouldn't that be
massive
great? We can have
syringe.
that
Well,
idea for
it's
free.
exactly
It's a
like
great
blowing
idea.
bubbles.
Oh,
longer you
she
hold
has
her elemental
she has
skill,
Bond of
the
Life as
larger
well.
the bubble
Yeah,
grows.
like that's
Once
like their
the
new
projectile
thing.
is released, it will gradually decrease in size as it bounces around. The bigger the bubble, the greater the damage and healing effect. And if a large bubble hits a weaker enemy, they'll be trapped inside.
Whoa.
Guys, it's like she's trapping them in a cage of kindness.
Like
A
the
cage
hydro
of
that you can tell
kindness.
she cares about. Her bedside manner is so strong.
Hey, wait a second. Are those the orbs that Nivelette drops? It looks like Sigewinne creates 2 source water droplets when she fires a bubble. And it looks
Her
like
bow
she gains
is
a bond
really
of life when
cute.
she touches them. How does that work?
I can explain that as well. Since she has training as a nurse, Sigewinne understands how to make the most of a dire situation. Her elemental skill creates source water droplets, and Sigewinne can give herself a bond of life by absorbing them. When that bond of life is cleared, Sigewinne can regain some elemental energy based on the value of the bond of life.
So Sigewinne's healing
Silk,
can nullify
you can always
her
check
bond of
out
life, and
Star
she can
Rail.
restore energy for
I mean, it's not
herself.
exactly like
Nice.
Genshin.
That's right.
It's actually very
While
different,
the bond of life
but
is hazardous
it's
to
more
most
like
people, it can actually be perceived as
it's
a
not
real advantage for Sigewinne.
switching.
After
It's
she
more
unlocks her
like
talent, detailed
like a
diagnosis,
turn-based.
thorough treatment. Sigewinne's healing will be increased based
If you're
on
looking
the
for a
total bond
game
of
with, like,
life values
specific
across
combat, I
all the
guess.
characters in her party.
Oh, thank goodness. Sounds like a Melusine can make the bond of life a lot less scary.
After using her elemental burst and absorbing nearby source water droplets, Sigewinne will use the syringe to spray enemies in
Oh
front
my
of her.
god, I
This
love
attack
the
deals
burst
continuous
animation.
hydro damage.
Wait, that's so cute. Even her attacks are a form of medical treatment.
Huge syringe.
Yeah, I mean, hey, she just wants everyone to be as healthy as possible.
She's so
Yeah,
cute.
right? Sigewinne wants every patient to get a proper amount of rest. After unlocking her passive talent requires appropriate rest, unleashing her elemental skill will also trigger the semi-strict bed rest effect. This effect will grant her a hydro damage bonus and several stacks of convalescence. When non-active characters deal damage with their off-field elemental skills, Sigewinne can consume a stack of convalescence to increase that elemental skill damage.
I like how it's only semi-strict. Like, not super strict, because she couldn't be super strict.
Just a little.
Wow, so it seems like the bond of life mechanic is pretty integral to both Sigewinne and Clorinde's
Is that
kits.
her idol
That
animation?
sure was a
Her
lot of
taking out her
information,
big ass
though.
syringe?
I can't wait to see these abilities in action.
Oh.
And travelers
Oh my
won't just be limited
God,
to the play styles that they've seen here, right? As I understand it, the mechanics leave a lot of room for open experimentation.
Yeah.
Right.
And outside of combat, Melazines are very connected to the ocean, so Sigewinne always takes care of her companions during underwater exploration.
Really?
Sigewinne is especially helpful when her friends are endangered by underwater enemies. She can use her emergency dose talent to continuously restore HP to her party member for a period of time. Unfortunately, doing so will lower all of their elemental and physical resistances.
Oh.
There's always a price.
Oh.
Cool. That seems like a skill that would come
I was
in
gonna say,
handy,
because
though.
I still struggle with
Sigewinne
swimming.
is always looking out for us. Thanks, head nurse.
Of course. Oh, and I've got a quick question for you all.
Yes.
Have you noticed any differences between Sigewinne and other Melazines?
Well, I think her appearance and her interests definitely stand out. Like, if you
yeah.
ignore the tail and the feelers on her head, then she actually doesn't look that different from a human child.
How could you ignore those?
Right. Well, true and fair. But also, she's interested in beauty, and she knows a lot about skincare, and she actually even contributes to the most famous beauty magazine in
What the
Fontaine.
heck?
Not know that.
Oh, and her medical knowledge.
Right.
We haven't encountered any other Melazines who give medical treatment to humans.
I don't know
And
how old
Sigewinne seems to care
Sigewinne
the
is,
most about
but
the
is she
people
a
of
Sephora
Fontaine.
baby?
And she's also one of the
Please-
few Melazines
please
who work
not
in the
let her be a
Fortress of
Sephora
Merope,
baby.
Right?
I mean, generally speaking, not many people are willing to treat criminals. I mean, not even a Melazine's open-mindedness usually goes that far, right?
Sigewinne's does. You're all bringing up great points. Don't you think that Sigewinne's differences from the other Melazines make her seem more unique and approachable at the same time? In the Narrate chapter, travelers will have the chance to learn more about the background of this very special Melazine in her personal story quest.
Woohoo!
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, speaking of story
She's
quests,
pretty old. Okay,
didn't
good,
travelers
good.
meet a mysterious
Look at
youngster last version,
Sethos.
sometime during Sino's story quest? Well, travelers will now have the opportunity to add him to their parties.
I cannot get over
He
his
recently left the desert and is
hair.
eager to travel around. So,
It's
Zach,
so pretty.
why don't you introduce him?
Go, Zach.
Oh, me? Okay then. Let's take a look at Sethos' demo.
If you're always asking why, you end up thinking yourself into a corner. Sometimes it's better to let go.
Oh my god, stay hydrated.
Give me some space.
The way that his hair flows when he's doing his skill. Shut up. Wait, was it a skill or like maybe he was doing he was holding his attack, but like that was really cool.
Oh,
Little detail.
Hey!
This design is so cool.
He looks amazing.
Yeah, the clothes and the hair, I love it.
Right?
Sethos didn't just get power and wisdom from his desert heritage. He's also talented in archery. Sethos has
Okay, he
always
said power
loved
and wisdom,
hiking,
and I was
he
just
has
like-
a great sense of direction. Whether he's exploring the desert
Where's the
or the
courage?
rainforest, he knows the roads like the back of his hand. And
My Zelda
he always
brain
knows
turned
where to
on
find
for a
the
second.
best regional specialties. Yeah, you probably know where this is going, but I'll say it anyway. When Sethos is in your team, he'll reveal the location of Sumero regional specialties on the minimap.
Ooh, nice.
Wait, so I'm curious. He's lived in a remote desert for his entire life, and he carries the weight of such an
He does
ancient
give
legacy.
Claude
To me, it seems
vibes.
like
I can
someone
see
with
that.
kind of upbringing would either be like really introverted or just super arrogant, but Sethos doesn't seem like that at all.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sethos is a very open-minded and cheerful person. As the successor to the mysterious Temple of Silence, he had more educational opportunities than other people who live in Sumeru's desert.
Oh.
His responsibilities drive him to learn about other people and places. He has a very open mind, and he tries to be optimistic. In fact, his personality is a huge help in getting along with other people.
He
So wait,
sounds
that
great.
sounds like, are you saying he's a social butterfly?
I guess.
He sounds
He's a
very
pretty
similar
busy guy,
to
and
Gaming.
He lives a pretty varied lifestyle. And he's around the same age as the General Mahamatra Sino. He occasionally visits the academia. He's always trying to make friends in Sumeru City, and he enjoys browsing goods at the Grand Bazaar. But we've already talked a lot about his hobbies. Let's move on to what he can do in combat.
That was the Princess Zelda
Sethos' aim
stage.
shot has a special variant when charged to level 2. He can't move when his attack is charged to its second level, but it
He
allows
is
him to
so
fire a
close to having
powerful
the full
shadow-piercing
Triforce, he
shot
just
that
needs
can
courage,
pierce enemies,
and then he'll
dealing
be good.
electro damage to targets in its path. Sethos' talent, Black Kite's Enigma, can decrease the charging time of his aim shot by consuming elemental energy. Some elemental energy will also be consumed after releasing the shot.
Nice.
Ooh, useful.
Yeah, and also I noticed his aim shots take a really long time to charge. So I think that means players need to store up elemental energy
Yeah,
to fire
it's
the
the
shadow
aim
piercing
shot where his
faster,
hair
right?
is like flowy. I
Hey,
love
wait a minute. I
it.
feel
It's
like
so
this is the
it's
first
so
Genshin
pretty.
Impact
Look at
character who actually
that.
consumes elemental energy while firing aimed shots.
What?
Yeah, you're right on.
Hey.
That's why Sethos has an elemental skill that helps him restore elemental energy.
Useful.
It's an ancient ritual that deals AoE electro damage, and it
Ooh.
also restores elemental energy whenever a hit on an enemy triggers an
Oh, that's
overloaded,
neat.
electrocharged, superconduct, electro swirl, quicken, aggravate, or hyperbloom reaction.
The way that he puts it out, like
But travelers
after he's done
also
with
have
it,
another option
he
for
like taps
firing
his foot.
powerful shots. By unleashing his elemental burst, Sethos will perform an ancient ritual that was passed down from King Deshret's era. He will enter the Twilight Meditation state, converting his normal attacks to enemy-piercing dusk bolts that deal increased damage based on his elemental mastery.
Oh, that's cool. That sounds like a mini version of the shadow piercing shot, only it doesn't take as much time to fire.
Useful. Okay, also it seems like the records of King Deshret have a lot of powerful abilities, so between you and me, does that mean Sethos has mastered other mysterious rituals and techniques?
Of course!
Yo.
I'm sure that the Temple
gotta
of
play
Silence has
Cyno's
a
quests.
whole archive of secrets. One of his other talents will also
Or
increase the
his
damage
second
dealt by a
quest.
shadow-piercing
Wait,
shot.
yeah,
for a
his
period
second
of
quest. I
time
gotta play it.
based on his
I haven't done
elemental
it yet.
mastery.
Okay, alright, sounds like the Temple of Silence is a real impressive legacy.
No kidding.
So many ancient rituals.
Sethos is definitely a talented fighter who can make full use of his martial heritage. He's similar to Clorinde in that sense.
Yeah. Oh wow, we finished the first mission.
Nice, I wonder what the next one's gonna be. Let's get it.
Oh, it looks like we'll have to
Man.
uncover hidden secrets in our
This
next mission.
is so far I'm really, really
Why are you
liking the
guys looking at me?
characters.
Well, I mean, secrets are kind of your area of expertise.
All your character does is speak in riddles.
Speak plainly, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, well, I guess I'm the only one who can shed some light on the hidden
Oh,
secrets.
here he goes.
So here we go. Archon Quest Chapter 4, Act 6,
Look at this
Bedtime Story, will become
art.
available in version 4.7. Travelers will finally reunite with Dainsley,
Bedtime
who
story?
will share more information about Conria's past.
Ooh.
That's what you guys were waiting for, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we were.
And also, I, got to break out my voice acting skills for this patch, you guys.
Oh my gosh, words come out of your mouth.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I finally
This
got to
time,
talk.
Ether and Lumine will get to meet face to face. And based on what we heard in the trailer, it seems like the Loom of Fate is now complete. So travelers can look forward to learning more about Kari Bear in this quest.
We can't.
Kari Bear.
Just can't reveal everything right now. Okay, leave some secrets. for me.
Ooh, Kari
These
Bear
are
is
important secrets
returning.
that travelers should uncover for themselves.
Oh, okay,
We can call off the snipers, call off the snipers.
Right? I know, I get it that everyone can barely contain their excitement.
Call off
so
the snipers.
I will throw you a bone. To help tide you over until the next update, I'll be sharing a special surprise with y'all.
What is it?
Come
Oh, I
on.
love surprises.
It is. You'll know very soon, I promise. But first, we need to introduce the event wishes.
okay.
So, in
Let's
the first
see, let's
phase
see.
of version 4.7, Clorinde and Alhaitham will be featured.
Alhaitham.
in the event wishes. Yeah. Sethos will be the new 4-star unit that appears on this event wish banner. And in the second phase of the version, travelers can look forward to
Aw,
event
Farina's
wishes
getting a
from Sigewinne and
rerun.
Farina. And because there's never enough, a new 5-star sword, Absolution, and a new 5-star bow, Silver Shower
Oh my
Heartstrings,
God.
will also be featured
The
on their
bow
respective
literally
weapon
looks like a
banners.
magical girl weapon. I cannot.
So cool.
It's
Good,
so
right?
cute.
All right. Okay. I've made y'all wait long enough. Let's bring out the surprise.
Yes,
I hope everyone enjoys it.
Let's go.
What? Oh, is this an update for the anime? Oh, this is gorgeous. Oh, what the heck? Oh, wait. There's a song?
Even over, I can point you out. The answer is not far off now. This journey of ours has been bittersweet.
Okay, what if I throw up?
My eyes wondering what you would have dreamed if you were here standing next to me.
Oh, Ether's so pretty.
You know how I feel and see what I see. Know that I will always try. Funny you're rhythm and rhyme. Though the nights are long and dark, I see you shine and bright.
I am crying.
No matter where you are, you've come with me this far, showing the way when all is falls apart.
Oh my god.
When the snow melts away and the ice wine alley breaks, have you taken off? Are you already on your way? No matter where you are, I've come with you this far. I'm never really lost.
I can't see. I can't see. Oh my god.
Our paths will surely cross.
What the fuck was that? Maybe it was like an animated short or something. I don't even know, but like I am unwell. What? That was beautiful. That was so well done. Oh my god. It's not. I can't. Please don't do this. I don't have any tissues in here. I just wasn't expecting to start crying at a live stream. I mean, or the preview. Like what? Oh, it was a short. It was Aimer. I knew it sounded familiar. Oh my god. Did they already put that on Spotify? that was beautiful. No, I truly wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that. Woowa, more like hooah. Not the hooah! Pickle! Pickle, the Aries popped out all of a sudden. I wonder how many will go back to this and not wooah. Unfortunate timing for them. I mean, I'm sure people are gonna probably play both games. Praying for them though, because you gotta be very strong to be able to play multiple of these open world games. Like, I can't even keep up with one.
Welcome back, travelers.
Thank you.
I think it's about time we introduce this domain behind us.
Yes, bring on the challenge. I'm
Whoa.
so ready.
Dun dun
You
dun.
sound ready.
This is very Alice in
The
Wonderland.
location of this challenge seems pretty intriguing. Paimon and the Traveler discovered a secret room within the Mondstadt Library, and they've received an invitation to participate in a mysterious performance.
Oh, I love secret rooms and libraries. Always wanted one. So that's right.
Hey,
the
we have
all-new
one in our
event,
FC house in
Imaginarium Theater, will
14.
become available in version 4.7 for travelers who are adventure rank 35 or higher.
Nice. Wait, so this is a library? Wow.
The coolest library.
I know, it looks a lot different from what I imagined. It's huge.
Yeah, it kind of looks more like a magic castle.
Right? So cool. I would live there.
Please.
So, travelers will encounter a concierge in the area who calls himself Wolfie.
Aww.
I know.
Wolfie.
He's so cute. Wolfie. He'll reveal that this room was created by a mage and that he's waiting for a guest to take the stage. He is also a poet. That guest will hopefully put on a magnificent performance by becoming
so
the main character of the mage's story.
Bring on that main character energy.
Ooh. After arriving in this room, travelers just need to interact with this strange book in order to participate in the Imaginarium Theater Challenge.
Wow, that was fast. But what kind of challenge is it?
Oh, let me tell you. Imaginarium Theater contains a series of combat challenges with different battle conditions. Now, only characters who wield specific elemental types will be allowed to participate. So travelers will have to select characters who meet the requirements of the challenge.
Oh, I get it. But what if we don't have enough
Look,
characters
they're using
in our
water.
roster
He's gonna
who
be a
meet the
trial.
requirements?
Oh my
Good thinking, but you won't have to worry about that. Because first off, 6 characters will be designated as the initial lineup for each challenge. Trial characters will be provided for travelers that are missing any of those characters.
I really gotta get
also invite special guest characters to participate in the challenges.
Wait, is this permanent?
In addition, travelers can also designate a certain number of characters as supports for their friends. They can also select their friends' supporting characters to join their own team.
That's a nice way to get to try new characters.
Right? Friends.
I didn't hear that.
Support each other.
That is
helping each other. And during the
That's
current
amazing.
challenge period, those 6 designated characters who make the initial lineup will gain fantastical blessings.
Wasn't the
This will
last
grant
time they
them
added
buffs
like a
that remain
permanent
potent
game
even
feature like
outside
that,
of
the
Imaginarium Theater
TCG?
Challenge.
Wait. So you're saying those buffs aren't just active during the challenge itself?
Yes!
Wow.
You're kidding. Wait, okay, the mage behind the theater must be super powerful.
Oh, super powerful. And I know that everyone's probably wondering why it looked like we had to select so many characters.
I still got like
characters will consume
my face is still
vigor while
wet.
participating in Imaginarium Theater combat challenges. So when a character's vigor is fully depleted, they will no longer be able to fight, and you will have to replace them with a new character.
It's time for some R&R.
I get it. So when you select your characters, you have to pay attention to how well they
Every
work
time I see her
together,
burst.
and also how well they can fill in for each other.
Exactly.
Involved strategy.
And I should also mention that not all selected characters will immediately appear in your team. Some characters can only be gathered by progressing through the story. They can formally be added to your
We've been
team
asking
at the
for
end of an
4
Imaginarium
years.
Theater battle, or when you encounter certain special
I
events.
think my favorite thing though is
So assembling
that
your team is part of the challenge.
the Genshin
Yes,
devs
which makes it even
had
more
said
fun.
that they
But let
weren't
me
going to
explain a
add
little more about
anything
the special
else,
events that I mentioned.
like end game
Travelers can
wise.
choose to spend
It was just
Fantasia
going to be
flowers
Spiral
to trigger
Abyss,
events
and
during
then
the story.
all of a
Some
sudden,
events will unlock certain characters for battle, and others may trigger certain perils.
I think that that's wonderful though. I think that's
travelers
wonderful.
will have to choose very carefully,
Ooh, no pressure.
right?
Travelers can collect performance
feel like
rewards by
that's-
completing challenges
that's
and
them,
finalizing their performance results. The first time they complete a challenge,
Listening to the
travelers
community.
will also receive a debut performance gift.
They never said no
Travelers who feel
endgame, just
particularly
nothing
confident can
like
try to attain the
Spiral
star
Abyss.
challenge condition
People
during each
misinterpreted
stage.
that.
They'll be able to
Everything
obtain
that I
different
read
levels
is
of
that they weren't
performance
going to
medals that
add like
correspond with
they
the
weren't going to
difficulty of
add
the challenge. These medals can
what
be
do you call it?
displayed on their profile.
Go ahead
Like
and show off.
challenging
And that's
content
not
like
all,
Spiral Abyss.
Right? Travelers can also obtain toy medals during this event, which they can exchange with Wolfie the Concierge. In return, travelers will receive special poses for their characters when taking photos.
Awesome!
Hello?
Travelers will be able to take all sorts of new cool pictures. I am excited to see new poses.
So hyped.
Me too.
G
And also,
posing.
more poses will be added whenever
Look,
Imaginarium Theater is
popsicle.
updated.
Yes. And finally, each performance in the Imaginarium Theater has several difficulty levels, and each one has a different number of challenges. Higher difficulty levels will yield even better rewards.
Bring it on.
As
That
Wolfie the Concierge likes to say, when the brilliant golden glow of the treasure beckons,
I
don't
hope
you
Wanderers
hesitate.
is just him
Just
flicking
go
people
open
off.
it.
How can he be
Please,
so cute?
please, please, please.
I don't know. Somehow I still didn't make him as cute as he
Please.
actually is.
Of course, it'll take time for travelers to raise the necessary characters and understand how they fit into this new challenge. And I'm sure travelers are always looking for ways to get more Primo Gems.
Always!
Said the magic word!
Gimme!
Each month, Imaginarium Theater will alternate with updates with the Spiral Abyss. In addition, the total rewards that can be gained from the Spiral Abyss has been increased from 600 Primo Gems to 800 Primo Gems.
Yes!
Yeah. More information will be available across Genshin Impact's official social media accounts, so keep a
We're
lookout.
so back.
Aye, Captain.
We are
Ooh,
so
the
back.
background is changing.
Ooh, here we go,
Let's see what else this version has in store.
Yes, please.
Mutual security enhancing simulation. Huh. I see some hilly churls and ruin guards, so I'm assuming this is one of those monster fighting events.
Yes, sort of. Travelers won't be engaging monsters directly. Instead, they'll be able to command monsters to fight in a cooperative simulation.
Imagine Wander sticking his tongue out. I love that.
We'll be hosting a strategic war game to
I love
improve their
that.
understanding of security needs throughout Tevat. They'll be accompanied by representatives from Mondstadt's Knights
They've been
of
testing
Favonius,
Endgame and Genshin for years with all of the events they have. There was no excuse not to add more Endgame. Yeah.
And Fontaine's Special Patrol. Their joint exercise is intended to improve military tactics across the continent.
Sir, yes, sir.
Wow. You're making
It's a
this
great
event sound
response to the
really official.
competition.
That was my official voice.
Fair, I'm sorry, Genshin have not done well.
As I
for
was
this.
saying, you can play two different kinds of scenarios in the event.
Oh,
scenarios and
like Star Rail
defense
has
scenarios. As special
MOC.
representatives to the simulation, travelers
Okay,
will need
yeah.
to analyze enemy formations.
It's
and
basically
deploy
harder
the
than
best
Spiral Abyss.
units
That's
for
so
completing the challenge.
interesting.
In assault scenarios, you only need to select your combat units and deploy them within your staging area. So once the scenario begins, the unit will automatically start attacking your opponent. So sit back and I don't know if you can relax when these things are coming at you, but try.
Clearly not.
Pew pew.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna give this a try.
Ooh, brave.
Yeah, okay.
Do it.
I'm catching
How
my
come my
chat.
hilly churl archers got wiped out so quickly?
Oh no. Okay, sorry, I forgot to mention something important.
You
Sorry.
know.
I know. But here, we can fix it now. Some types of combat units are more effective against others. Ranged units like hilly churl archers are vulnerable to melee units like Mida churls. But don't fret, you can turn a bad situation around if you choose the best units to tackle the opponents on the battlefield.
Just choose the best unit.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
Tower of
Just choose the
Fantasy
best
had
units.
some like
Choose the best
serious
unit.
issues from what I remembered
In defense
seeing.
scenarios,
I didn't
you
play
need to
Tower of
deploy units
Fantasy,
to
so I've
effectively counter enemies who are attacking
this
from
is just
multiple directions.
osmosis
So,
from
defeated enemy
people
units will drop
who
support
talked about
beacons,
it
which
around
can then
me.
be used to deploy additional combat units and frontline structures.
As the unit's commander, travelers can use their leadership skills to create
Yeah, the
favorable
special camera was
conditions for their team.
Charlotte.
And if they're successful, then travelers can obtain various rewards from the Mutual Security Enhancing Simulation event. These rewards include Primo Gems, a Crown of Insight, and a 4-star
The way after
bow,
Woolware released, I got a
Cloudforged.
desperate please come back email from Tower of Fantasy. Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
And next up, we're introducing another combat-related event, Endless Form's Most Martial.
Did not start at the very
okay.
first patch.
I'm
First, I
guessing
was
that
told
this
why I
one's
never
gonna
played it.
test some different skills.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, you betcha. In the previous event, travelers only got to simulate combat, but the environment on a real battlefield is way more unpredictable. And that's why it's important to come up with combat tactics on the fly and take advantage of battlefield conditions. So, in Endless Form's Most Martial, travelers will have to
We got a
defeat
lot of,
enemies according to the special rules of each
combat
stage.
stuff.
For example, some
This
challenges may
update.
require travelers to defeat enemies affected by the electrocharge
I gotta
condition.
And
check
my characters. I gotta make sure that they're good to go.
Now, once they satisfy the requirements, they'll be able to earn.
I'm getting
rewards.
I'm getting like the itch. I'm getting the itch.
I love rewards. So this is one of those challenges that requires you to strategize.
Indeedy. Oh, okay. Let's move on to our next event. I'm gonna try this now.
I know the
I've
chibi
gotten a report about a
Sigewinne
loud
is so
boom that just went off in a rather
cute.
unremarkable part of Fontaine.
Uh-oh.
Ooh,
I like that news.
it must have come from that crocodile-shaped
Did I start
cannon.
playing Woa? I
looks pretty
am not
scary.
playing
No
that
fear,
game.
viewers. I wouldn't worry about it, actually.
Shoot.
This cannon was modified by a Fontanian
However,
engineer.
I am playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm playing Persona 3 Reload.
So why not have some fun with it?
Oh.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Why not indeed, if that's the case? Travelers will need to allocate energy to the cannon and choose the correct firing mode to destroy as many target balls as possible within the time limit. They'll even be rewarded for their trouble.
Was there ever a doubt? In
Not
order to
this
keep
again.
the
My
event
aim is
interesting,
shit.
Special types of target balls will appear during the challenge.
I
They
want
will
to eat her
produce different
cuteness
effects when
aggression.
they are destroyed.
Honestly, WoW is going hard with rewards at the moment, trying to keep everyone happy.
Yes,
20 free
that's
pulls so
my
far,
kind
and
of
everyone
the
gets
old
a
school
free
arcade games, 'cause
5-star
I'm
of their
an old school
choice
guy, I'm just
Sunday.
old. Anyway.
A free 5-star of their choice. Yeah, I mean, like I get it. I get it because
Travelers
I
will
mean,
encounter a familiar light
I don't-
novelist who recently completed a new script.
honestly,
Travelers
from
who follow her script will be
what
able to
I've
embark on a
gathered,
wondrous journey
as I have not
literature and
played it,
imagination. And the script will lead
it
travelers
seems
to
like
mysterious
there were
locales
some
where
issues
they will
with
have the
launch,
opportunity to earn rewards.
and
That
I'm
is,
sure that they
if
want
they
to
can
make sure
evade
that they
bullet
don't
curtain
have the
assaults from,
same.
you know, various mechanisms.
They don't
and collect
want
enough
to
labyrinth
create
points. No big deal, you
a
can do it.
Easy
I'm ready.
peasy. Wicked warlocks will also be scattered across the field.
like a
I like it.
black
If you defeat
cloud
them, then you
over
can earn
their
even
game
more
from the start.
Ooh, it looks like we'll have to
So
move really skillfully if we want to avoid all those attacks.
so it is a very good idea
But
to
hey, don't
try
worry,
to
travelers
keep
can take advantage of
their
adventure techniques to
their
gain
new
special
players
buffs.
happy.
So these buffs will make the oncoming bullets a lot
it's
easier to deal with.
it's a very
You'll
very
also
good
be able to
idea,
get rewards more easily if you're smart
especially
about how you
with
use
That sounds
them
great.
trying
So
to
speaking of
potentially
strategies,
compete
the
with
new version
Genshin.
will be adding more updates to the Genius
So it is.
Invocation
I'm
TCG.
curious to see.
Travelers can look forward to
Kave's
new
back.
character cards,
Kave's
monster
back.
cards,
Kave's
and
back.
action cards. Also, more NPCs will be ready
Call up
to
the search.
challenge
Call up the
travelers
search.
in the
Kave's
open
back. There
world.
he is.
Oh,
Welcome
and I
back,
hope they're ready
Kave.
to lose. So well.
Oh, they could take a challenge.
Also,
Anyway,
the Leyline Overflow event will also return in the new version.
yeah,
so don't
I
miss
think
out.
it's really
That was
cool
a
that
lot of
they're
information.
doing that, and they're
Let's
trying
take
to
a break
rectify
while we
whatever
take
is
a
going
look at
on
the
with
last redemption code.
launch.
See you soon.
That's so cute. But I think the big thing, and from once again osmosising the gacha community and gacha games in general, is at launch for most of these games, like, things are very very generous at the very beginning, and like I guess mostly it's just it's gonna be like see how things fare over time. So yeah, hopefully they continue to listen to their player base, and they continue trying to create a game that obviously is making the Hoyoverse community happy, because that's probably a lot of the community that is playing Wuthering Waves. Yeah, and also trying to maybe be stand out as well from being similar to their competition. I don't know. I feel like that's the best thing that they can do, because yeah, like if Genshin does something that is gonna bring those players back, like I do think that people can play both games. Like there's definitely not a thing where you can't play both of these games at the same time. But with these types of games, like the most important thing for them is daily logins. So it's really about seeing if people are going to continue logging in daily, or yeah, because for a lot of these types of games, I think it's hard for casual players to log in daily and do their daily things and do the events that change and stuff. And I'm sure that, you know, Wuthering Waves is going to follow a similar pattern as
Welcome
Genshin.
back to the version 4.7 special program. Looks like we completed this domain challenge.
Was there ever any doubt?
Piece of cake.
I think you'll find I am very, very pro.
Now
I'm very,
it's
very
time
pro.
to tell everyone about the new optimizations in the latest update.
Yes, please.
First up, the encounter point
Oh,
system
man.
for collecting daily commission rewards will now be unlocked at adventure rank 24.
Where's the adventure?
Hopefully
Where's
this
adventure?
helps travelers level up more quickly.
Oh!
Nice. And now for some really exciting news. Traveler's max resin will be increased from 160
Wait,
to 200.
that's right. I think I saw people talking about that.
Nice.
They increased the
You might
resin
notice
that
from
people
the
were
video
asking
that
for.
version
I'm dead.
4.7 will have some other optimizations.
No
Be sure to check
way.
them out for yourselves in game.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
All right, that looks like all the information we have to share today.
I literally
Bye,
cannot believe they
travelers.
increased the resin.
Just kidding.
wait.
No,
I'm
you
just
can't.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Of
Okay.
course, I wouldn't sign off without giving you guys the chance to talk about your time here on the special program. How was it?
I have things to say. No,
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm so thrilled to join this amazing voice cast, and I'm excited for everyone to get to see Sigewinne in action and add her to your parties, I hope, and
Yes.
just see how cute she is with her little pills and her adorable little syringe. Take it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, same here to everything that Sarah said.
That
It's
was
such
a
an honor
really,
to join the
really
cast.
great
I'm
live
so
stream.
excited that
I
Clorinde is
loved
finally coming
it.
out. I hope everyone has fun, meeting her and learning more about her. And
I
also,
loved
I'm
it.
really excited for these combat events. I don't know about you guys, but I've been playing this game, and my favorite thing's beating things up in this world.
Yeah. No, me too.
Love fighting these monsters.
And you guys, I have not been playing this game for years, and so while Dainsleif is a man of mystery, this game, so much of it is a mystery to me. And you guys were so welcoming today, and I learned so much. And I don't know, is this the thing that finally gets me to start playing?
Oh.
Are you guys a gateway?
Ooh.
Is that what? Did that just happen?
Did we get him?
This is it. Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome doing this with you guys. I'm so excited for Imaginarium Theater, of course, all the new characters, and the new Archon quest because I got some new voice lines.
Oh yeah.
He's so excited he gets to talk. Oh my god.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, guys, and see y'all in game.
See y'all in game.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
That was great. I loved it. I thought that... Shut up! Shut up! No! What? Oh my god, I'm screaming. Oh my god, no way! What is this music? What? Oh my god! We're slipping through lava! Wait, is that us? I don't even know. Maybe this is just an enemy. No, we're just seeing we're seeing through the eyes of the enemy. Oh my god, that's really cute. Oh my fucking god. Oh, I'm obsessed with this music. Look how pretty! This is so cool! No way! Shut up! Oh my god. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I literally didn't know. I wasn't aware. I was like, I said that I wanted to see it, but like, I mean, I thought that it's so cool. What?